Should have had music.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Women Lead TV, brought to you by Connected Women of Influence. My name is Dan Alexa, the host of The Present. Today, our show is about mindfulness and moving from high-strung to highly productive. My special guest today is Daniel Gutierrez, the owner of Catalina Retreat Center in Peru. And Daniel was once a high-powered executive and in-demand consultant who graced the covers of Latin business color magazines, and one day realized there was more to success than a seven-figure earning potential. To find fulfillment, Daniel decided to dedicate the next chapter to his life of becoming a master of mindfulness. And during the past 10 years, he's moved into that space of post boardroom. He has been guiding entrepreneurs and corporate executives in deep dive mindfulness immersions. Though mindfulness is a long time practice, Daniel has become known for giving life altering strategies in as little as 60 seconds. When facing extreme pressure, executives from high strung to highly productive, Daniel has even turned Wall Street cubicles from a place of stress to places of serenity. So, Daniel, welcome from Peru, my very first international guest. Welcome, sir. Good to see you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. So, tell us about that journey. I'm familiar with it because you are one of my mentors, and I've been working with you for years now. Um, Tell all of our viewers about that journey, the you who was corporate, who was a advisor to the Obama administration, all of that, and this journey to where you are now.
Wow, we need about a 4-hour show, so I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. Basically, I grew up thinking, or at least being taught, that success meant working hard, working long hours, getting to the top, not giving up, everything that you would consider success to be. And I got there. I remember, Daniel, I remember being in a uh, swanky bar on the 75th floor on Fifth Avenue in New York. It was a membership only bar, and on the left of me is Al Sharpton. To the right of me is one of the New York football players, and I'm looking out the window. And this particular day, it was snowing, these big old snowflakes. They're like toilet paper. It was just one of those beautiful scenes, kind of like out of It's a Wonderful Life. I'm looking out and I'm going, wow, I've made it. I'm wearing my custom made $750 suits and my custom made shoes and blah, 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 going on and on. And Daniel, something happened to me in that moment as I was looking out the window, enjoying my fat cigar and my cognac. I saw my reflection in the window, and I saw a tear coming down my face, and I was shocked by that. And then a small voice that said, "And what values did you sell to get where you're at?" And that just stopped me in my tracks. It stopped me in my tracks because as a 17-year-old, I was a licensed Baptist minister. That's a funny one. I was a licensed Baptist minister, and so that deep value system was deep in me. And I know as a corporate executive and as a president of big organizations in the United States, we sometimes do things we don't want to do to keep our positions, to keep people voting for us, to keep people. This is why when people would say, "Do you think Obama always made the right decision?" I say, "Well, Obama made the decision that he was asked to make." That when you get in those positions, you're doing things you don't always want to do to keep moving in the direction to do some of the smaller things you want to get done, right? That was a moment that I decided I was done. If everything I had done got me to that place of success, and like I said, it's a very long story, as you know, then maybe I was on the wrong path. And I literally let go of everything. The presidency that I was at the current time in New York City doing, and the advisor to the Department of White House personnel, I just quit making the calls. I didn't make any more calls. I just said, I don't want to do that anymore. I literally just kind of stopped. And I said, what do I do now? I was at a place where my son had graduated high school, my mother had passed away, and I was in a place where I called a perfect storm to make a decision for my life. Have you ever been on vacation and said, hey, I want to live here? but you really don't want to live there because you would never make the decision to make it happen. But all of us do it every time we go on vacation. Well, this case, I was going, I want to go to Peru. And there was just that sweet spot in life that we get an opportunity that our dreams come together and you think, could it really happen? Could I really do this? And I sold, as you know, I sold everything I owned in the US. I gave away everything. I literally came here with 3 pieces of luggage, and I came here and I started the retreat center that you now know is Catalina. That's a long story too, but we'll keep it short. Here in San Salvador, where I am today. And it was the best decision I ever made. And I'll quantify that by saying this. I used to do interviews in the United States, and I really, really, honestly never felt I would live out of my 50s because my life was so stressful. Flying here, you know the drill. Flying here, flying there. There was no time for breathing. And now I feel being here in the Andes, as I look over the Andes every morning and looking at the sunrise, as you know, you were here just not too long ago. I really do feel like I might live into my 90s, and that's a blessing and that's a gift. And that's the short version of this very, very long story.
There's a couple of things in there I want to grab, but the first one was something you just said about that space of not feeling like you could breathe when you were in corporate, and now here you are living at 10,000 feet where the air is a lot thinner and you're breathing so much more into the moment and being in the moment. So it's a really
Yes.
interesting juxtaposition there. But going back to, you were talking about being at that perfect storm at events to make a decision. And I noticed one of the things you said there was when you decided to stop, you stopped. And I'm curious about bringing that
Mm.
awareness to the viewers. When you feel you're in the spin, come to a pause.
Yeah. If there's anything that I've learned about mindfulness over these last 60 years, I can't even believe I'm 60. These last 60 years, is that taking a moment. You said something in the bio that I could teach you how to have mindfulness in less than 60 seconds. I think it's part of the title of my book. It does just take less than 60 seconds because there's only one thing you really need to do to calm yourself down, and something that most of us forget to do: breathe. It's as simple as and feeling the relaxation in your shoulders and feeling the relaxation in your chest and going and asking the next question. This is a very important question. Am I okay right now? In this moment, am I okay? Most of the time the answer is yes. And take another deep breath. There you go. And so when I would do that, I would realize that I was okay in the moment, but I needed to make a different decision. And you can't make a decision in fight or flight. Or if you do, you're usually going to go back and go, well, I wish I hadn't done that. But if you can make a decision in the stillness of your beingness, in the stillness of you, where you take that deep breath, music is not powerful in the music. Music is the most powerful between the notes. When one note ends and another one picks up, the silence between the notes is where it's powerful. And that's where we are powerful as individuals. We're the most powerful when we take that moment to take a pause and then make a decision.
When we think about that message of listening for the silence between the notes and being in that pause, particularly for the viewers, particularly the women who are listening and may feel like they're in that spin with, well, anybody, with home, with
Mhm.
work, with all the things going on and all the demands of it. They might not feel like they have the time to come to a pause. They feel like they're in that fight or flight of, I've got to
Mhm.
move to the next thing and I have to. We've been so conditioned to make that decision now and keep moving forward. What message do you have for them to give themselves permission to find that space?
We are the golden goose. You are. You're the golden goose. Most women today are juggling everything: home, work, business, whatever, you name it. Right? I was a single dad, so I know what it was like to, be running my kid all over the place to play soccer, and then over the band, and then, so it's a lot. And that moment of connectivity for yourself is priceless. You are the golden goose. If something happens to you, what happens to the rest of it? Always takes me back, Daniel, to the I don't know if you ever saw the movie It's a Wonderful Life
Hmm.
with Jimmy Stewart,
Hmm.
where that moment where he realizes that, maybe I'm just not worth being here, or what would it be like if I wasn't here? What would it be like, mom, businesswoman, entrepreneur, if you weren't in your life? What would how would people, I mean, that's when we get to really connect to the value of who we are, what we bring to the table of life. And guess what? Even though you have a lot of hats that you wear, you also deserve a moment. 60 seconds, folks. That's all I'm asking for
Hmm.
you. And I know for a fact that if you give yourself 60 seconds, you'll give yourself 120 and then 180 and then 240. Next thing you know, it's been 5 minutes and your blood pressure's down. Because I think I may be wrong, but right now in the US, women are leading in heart attacks. Why is that? Because they're not taking that moment to breathe, to breathe in their magnificence, to breathe in their godness, their goddessness, and realize that, you know what? This is for me. And so take a moment right now if you're watching the show and just breathe. I promise you, you're probably holding your breath.
And we think about how even post-pandemic, that situation of being in the spin has been so compounded that while there has been some return to the office space, so many of us are still working from home without really a compartmentalization barrier from I'm at the office and can somewhat close the door on that, even though some of that energy may linger as we go home and then be at home with two different environments. Now that environment just is one with very flexible, malleable, maybe non-existent boundaries that could be making it even harder for an individual to come to that center and find 60 seconds to say peace out for me for a couple.
Yeah. Well, it really is. However, I have this quote or saying that came to me during an interview during the pandemic. If your calendar still looks the same as it did before the pandemic, you've learned nothing. We've learned absolutely nothing because the pandemic was the pause. The pandemic was, and yes, we did have to find out now the balance of home life slash office life slash marriage life. I mean, now it's all in one room. If you thought it was tough before, yeah, it is. But I still have to believe in my heart of hearts, Daniel, that we can step outside for a moment. And really, I guess for me right now, it's easy. It seems easy, but I too am like you on Zoom calls, Zoom interviews, blah 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 blah, going back and forth to step outside wherever that may be. I was just having a conversation. I did an interview with a lady in New York, and I said right below, and then she was way up on a high rise. I said every single building, not every single, but a lot of them in New York City, have something in common that the architect put into that building. It's called a water fountain, and the water fountain is designed to give humans a place to relax, a place to connect to water, to let the water hit their skin. But we walk by it every single day without even paying attention to it. Go experience that if you happen to be in New York City right now. Go look for that water fountain. Take that minute, take that pause, because I promise you one thing, folks, and we know this having gone through the pandemic. Don't let life act on you because it will. And someday, the one thing that I know for sure that when you're laying in that bed and you're sick because you didn't take those 60 seconds at a time, you can't hire anybody to do that for you. You have to do that. You're the one that has to sit there in that bed and suffer the consequences of not taking a mindful moment for yourself. And it sounds harsh, Daniel, but that's the reality of life.
Hmm. And we have to. There's those bold moments. We have to make the choice for self, and that might mean somebody doesn't get what they need in the moment. But if we're more worried about giving them what they need, we're not taking care of us. And then we're eventually giving from that empty cup. And what you shared there around about the water fountain
Yes.
reminded me of two things. One, one of your favorite quotes because you said it to me many times in our work together. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others and the community. And then my brain jumped from water fountain to water cooler, and how the water cooler in most office buildings is that place of community to talk about whatever happened yesterday, whatever's going on. And we've lost a lot of that in the virtual world. We don't have a place to come together in the same way to have that
Mhm.
social connection.
That
So
is so true.
yeah.
And we have to find that. We have to
Mhm.
find that somewhere.
So, taking a peek here, I'm reminded we have Halloween tomorrow as things are going on, and we're sitting at a full moon currently. Um, Back in, I think it was either May or June, you were at an indigenous festival that was centered around that full moon, and I really want to hear more about that and the connection to purposeness and peacefulness that you made there.
I was at a festival called the Festival of Coyuriti. This festival is at 17,000 feet. Now, if you want to get some perspective, Mount Everest base camp is 17,500 feet. So that's halfway up Mount Everest. I went to this festival, and I think before I got up to go to this festival, let me tell you what happened to me up to that point. Well, I had a fall in and broke 3 ribs, and really ugly. I had caught COVID, and that turned into a pneumonia. And the morning that I was supposed to go to this festival, one of my knees decided it didn't want to act, didn't want to do anything, right? And so here I am at 4 in the morning, getting ready to go to this festival that is high elevation. There was a 5 mile walk to get there, and sub-zero weather at this place, and there's 150,000 people there. Do you know that even though I probably knew this, and if you read any of my books, I never really talked about it, there was something that I learned at that festival that I'm sure some of us recognize, but maybe, and even practice, but maybe not consciously. It's called faith. And do you know that I went to that festival and I slept in sub-zero weather and I walked back, and it wasn't until somebody who I know said to me, "Hey, Mr. Gutierrez, are you crazy? How's your health? How's your knees? What about your ribs?" And I said, "Oh, quite honestly, I hadn't even thought about it. I hadn't even thought about it." And I realized in that moment the necessity for faith in our lives. And I'm not talking about religious faith. I'm talking about faith in ourselves. And maybe for some people it is religious faith, and that's fine. Faith in something. For me, my faith was in Pachamama. My faith was in Mother Nature. And seeing the connection between the Catholic faith and the indigenous people come together without any dogma, just a festival of 150,000 people, indigenous people, dancing all night, fireworks all night, and never stopped. So, needless to say, there was no sleep either. But what an opportunity. And it changed my life because I realized that in the mix and the soup of success, you got to have some faith in what you're believing and what you're seeing. And I know that Daniel and I both believe in that words are powerful. Thoughts are even more powerful. And if you power that, if the operating system behind that is faith, and whatever you're doing, ladies, whatever you're doing, your entrepreneurship, your build, whatever you're doing, if you add that piece, regardless of what people around you are saying or doing, that's the hard part. Is that we got to block that out and just have faith that whatever you believe in as the energy source that you believe in is going to bring you to that point that you need to be at. That was something my wife and I remember getting back, I felt changed because I didn't have any more issues with my ribs. I didn't have any more issues with COVID. I had more with the pneumonia. I didn't have any more issues with my knee. Why? What happened? I realized that most of what was going on, and actually, Daniel, you knew that I was coming up on my birthday and I was having a bad time, and oh my gosh, I'm going to be 60. I'm old. What am I going to do? It's just another number. That's all it is. Just enough. But I had fallen into that soup of despair, fear, doubt, and disbelief. And I was reminded of faith. And that if we have faith in ourselves and our businesses and our partners and whatever it is that we're needing faith in, things are going to work out. So thank you for asking me because I had forgotten about what a wonderful trip that was.
And it reminds me of, like, I visited you shortly after that. I was just there a few weeks ago. Um, the difference in it of having that belief and having that faith underlying everything just guides our actions so differently than a worry and or concern of, is it going to work out? But to come in with faith, or my go-to word is trust, in the same space, that if we go into it with that energy and looking for the opportunities, it changes so much in how we show up in action, and then how the actions play out because of that.
And we all fall into that trap, all of us, into, oh, all of a sudden we get like the truck in the rut in the mud, and then we can't pull it out, and it keeps pulling us back, and it keeps pulling until finally, we give it that big push, and we get out of there. We all fall into that. This is why you need 60 seconds at least to just take a moment, ask yourself, where are my thoughts right now? Where are my thoughts right now? Are they in the past? Are they in the future? Are they in the now? Because if you're in the past, there's nothing you can do about it. If you're in the future, you haven't gotten there yet. But if you're in the present, you can make the right decision and bring you back into, excuse me. Sorry about that. There's no
Bless you.
like radio before, or maybe you had the button yeah,
Bless
to
you.
turn it off. But anyway, there you go.
So, with that, it reminds me of something you said to me in one of our meetings. It's been a few years back, where I was caught up in some of my stuff, and we came to a point in the conversation where I was smacking myself in the head, saying, "I can't believe I didn't see that." And your response to me, I will never forget it, was, "They're called blind spots for a reason, and that's why you have me."
That's right. That's what a good coach or a good mentor does, right? Says, blind spot. We didn't have them, we wouldn't need anybody, but we do. And I have them, you have them, and I promise you, Obama had them.
Mhm. So, just in case our viewers want to reach out to you after the show, how would you like them to contact you?
Go to my website if you want to talk to me, danielgutierrez.com. I'd be happy to talk to you, sit down and just see where your life's at. And maybe if all we need to do is just sit and stare at each other for 60 seconds, I'm in.
Mhm. So, I know you have some other big things coming up on the horizon with a new book. You've also doing the fundraising for the holiday party. Want to share that information with us?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Every year here in the Andes for the last 4.5 years, I have done a fundraiser for getting gifts to kids that need them, and these are kids that wouldn't get gifts either way. Their parents can't afford it. We've been able to give 5,000 kids gifts over the last 4.5 years, and so I'm running that again. You can find it at my retreat center is Catalina Retreat Center Peru.com, and you can go there and find more information. I've got a lot of great things going on here at the retreat center, but the main thing for right now, yes, is raising money for those kids so that we can get them the gifts that they deserve. And this year, Daniel, we chose Pachanta. Pachanta is the village we stayed in where the hot tubs were at, that are at the base of Asangate. So we're going to be giving those kids that never get anyone to go back there because of the snow. And we're going to brave through the snow. We're going to make sure those kids have a Christmas this year. So let me know if you're interested in helping us out. As far as my book, I'm still working on it. If you're an author or have written a book, you know how that goes. Some days I write, some days I don't. But I'm moving forward, and I'm hoping that in 2024 the book will be out.
And for the viewers watching, to give you a reference point, uh, the Catalina Retreat Center is outside of San Salvador, Peru, which is close to Pisac. Asangante, which is that sacred mountain, is about a 4-hour drive away, the last hour of which is over
Mhm.
dirt roads to a very, very, very remote village at the base of that mountain that sits at about 14,000 feet. It is stunningly beautiful in its remoteness and starkness, and I have never met across the entire Sacred Valley. I can say this as a truism. I have never met such giving, loving people as the individuals who live in the communities of the Sacred Valley. It is a wonderful place to visit just to get reconnected to what humanity is really about.
Mhm.
Any parting
Yes, and we're here
messages?
waiting for you. We got
Yeah,
to. Yeah,
go for it.
I do. Um, if you're an entrepreneur or you're just super busy and you're reaching for a goal, someone once asked me, "How is it, Daniel, that you seem to always be reaching your goals?" I thought about this before the show. How is it that happens? I don't look around for too much advice because when we get too much advice, it clutters our head and we're paralyzed. So get advice on the things you need and then make the decision. Whatever it is in your life today that you're holding off on because you need more advice, don't ask for any more. Just make the decision. Go for it. I've always said jump off that high board and the net will show up. I promise you.
Yeah. I've never met Annette before, but I hope she's there to catch me. Play on words. And that's it. And that's our show for today. I'd like to say thank you to Daniel Gutierrez for being my special guest today, all the way from Peru. Thank you very much. And thank you to all the viewers watching us live. It has been my sincere pleasure to be your host today. Thank you for watching. Have a great week. And to remember to live in the present. Be well.